A gente vai começar com essa palestra que foi feita à distância. Da Source Football, eu não sei se vocês conhecem, é uma plataforma de serviço aí em consultoria, em analytics no futebol. O Ricardo, que é um dos nossos integrantes do laboratório, trabalha hoje para a Source, é estagiário lá, e aí ele fez um perguntas e respostas com o Ravi, que é um dos fundadores da empresa e já trabalhou na MLS aí por uns bons anos. Então a gente trouxe aí nesse formato de vídeo. Vamos dar o play aqui enquanto o pessoal ainda está chegando aí do almoço.
Back in Brazil, welcome to Fame. I'm Ricardo Furbino, and I'm currently intern at Source. And I'm doing exchange in the Netherlands right now, otherwise I would be back with you guys there. But in Brazil, I was studying computer science at UFMG. And today we have a real special guest, Ramineni. He worked at Microsoft in the Bing search engine, and then took a shift in his career going to football analytics. He was the head of data analytics at the Seattle Sounders club from the MLS for almost 10 years, in a time that the team was one of the most successful sides in the MLS. He then decided to start his own business together with Sarah Rudd and Carl Grossman, Source Football, a football analytics company where he is currently co-founder and CEO. So Ravi, so great to have you here with us today, and how are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Ricardo. Thank you for having me on the call today. I'm doing very good.
Super. So Ravi, I'll start by asking you about the beginning of your career in football analytics. How did you transition from a big tech company that is Microsoft to a relatively new industry that is football analytics? And what did you think was the main environmental change between the two of them?
A lot to talk about. I can talk for half an hour about it, but I will try to keep it short. So yeah. I worked at Microsoft as you described in the intro, but I always liked football, and I always wanted to be a part of it somehow, but I did not know how. Initially, I was writing blogs about just games, just talking about how teams played, and just writing more like a journalist, but I'm not a journalist. And then so I was doing that, and then So I met Sarah at Microsoft.
Yeah.
And she was also she had similar ideas of wanting to work in football, but she had thought about it a lot more, and she was she was already decided what she wanted to do. So that's kind of how that helped me a lot to shape my path also. But the thing is that my work at Microsoft involved a lot of analyzing big data sets, like terabytes of data. We used to mine search engine logs. Basically, anytime you search something on Google or Bing, they collect a lot of information, the search engine, just to understand what the intent of the query is, where the query is coming from. So we would then do a lot of data analysis, data mining to understand what the user really wanted there, and if he was he satisfied seeing what the results he saw on the page. So, and then we would change things on the page and experiment. So I already had the skills to do the data analysis. That's part of my day job. So football analytics at the time, this was like 2011, 2012, was early stages. Yeah. So there were a few people that were, Sarah was one of them, and there was a bunch of people that then started blogging and around the same time. Yeah, so that's how it started. And then I went to the Sloan Sports Conference in Boston, Massachusetts. Then I saw a lot of people from Europe trying to do the same. Not that everybody was advanced. It was more like they had some ideas, or they were already one step ahead in terms of, I want to do this. So that helped me. And then I quit Microsoft right after that. I came back from Sloan, and then I left Microsoft, gave myself a few months to start writing analytics blogs. I think some of the blogs may still be kind of alive somewhere. I'm sure if I read it, I will not want to share it. But it was more like looking at data available in those days and trying to put something there. The idea was that because it was not a job that is very structured like a software engineer. So you have to put yourself out there so people see and might see, he might be useful for me, or you might be useful in the club. So that was the idea. So the idea was to just put myself out there. Yeah, and then along the way, I met someone from the Seattle Sounders, and that's how I started working with them for a few months, where I would meet him at a Starbucks in his off day, and he would give me some data, then I would give him some output the next week. It went like that, and at the end of that season, his name is Dave Kenny. He's not there at the Sounders anymore. He asked me if I wanted to join the team at the end of that season. So initially I started, so that's how I got into football. And initially I was only doing a lot of work on the sports science side, fitness data, GPS data, trying to understand how much players worked, how hard they worked in a training session, and what that means for the next day, what that means for the next week. Is there any injury risks? That's the information I worked on at the beginning.
Got it. So yeah, that's perfect to transition to the next question. That is, after you get into the Seattle Sounders, how did the technological work, all this background that you had on big data, translated to both the pitch and to the offside of the pitch? So how was the communication between both the managerial staff and the decision makers on the executive board?
Yeah, so as I said, the first part of my first 2 years, I worked on fitness data, GPS, heart rate, a lot of testing data to make sure the players are healthy and that they can. So that was the area. So when I joined there, they had no infrastructure. So first thing I did was I used my background in technology to build an infrastructure. At the time, it was like a client server type model, like a website, web server, and then a database in the back end. Obviously, we switched to the cloud in the recent years, but before that, it was just a standalone database. So I built that first. The big challenge in the beginning was it took me about 3 months to show them anything. Like, okay, this is what I've done. So it's hard to, like, you see a coach and the coach comes by you, you're sitting with a computer, and he's like, what is this guy doing here, right? But they were very nice to me, like, they would make fun of like jokes and stuff, but in general, they were very open. They would explain me a lot of things. I would get to listen to a lot of football conversations. I think the big learning for me was that I used to watch games, and I thought I learned a lot just watching games because I watched a ton of football. But then I go into a club where it's very different. You learn a lot more. You actually learn to see the game very differently, which I had no idea about because I played the game, but at a recreational level, but I never had a coach. So I don't know anything in terms of like structured and all that. So to learn that from coaches and people that have been in football for many, many years, that was very eye-opening for me. So so initially that was my first couple of years. I was building that stuff and got that too. And then the president of the club on the executive side, he asked me to build similar platform for scouting and recruitment.
Got it.
So then I started doing that, which is what I always wanted to do. That was kind of my passion and what I wanted to, my objective. But I took 2 years to do other things. Actually, it helped me a lot to build a lot of relationships with the coaches and everybody there. And then that obviously helped me later on the recruitment side. But I needed to do that just to get into football, right? So, and I had the skills to do it. It's just a different data. But I feel like that helped me understand the game in a different angle that not many people get to because you either work on one side or the other side.
Got it.
Yeah, so technology, I mean, it was like, obviously, as I said, they didn't have any platform when I got there. So it helped me put together everything and then, put a front end with reports. That's and then, towards like as years passed and I got more experience, like I was handling the salary management of the team, the salary cap. So as you know, in all American sports, there is a top limit of salary you can use, but then there's always a lot of different rules within it that if you have a young player, his salary, even if you're paying X amount of money to him, it only counts very small percentage towards the salary cap. And a lot of mechanisms like that, because the league wants to create certain behavior from the teams of how they spend their money. So they incentivize certain aspects. So then you have to do a lot of calculations and math to just say, what is the optimal strategy here? How can we use our resources? So I got into doing a lot of that. And so that's how, and then obviously recruitment and player analysis, that's how I helped the scouting and the executive side of the team. And then with the coaches and the staff, it was a lot more about analyzing opponents, next rival, next match, and also analyzing our own performance and identifying problems. And also like giving them some ideas on what are the areas of the pitch that we need to dominate, or what are the areas of the pitch that are valuable or not valuable, and explaining them. So I used to work a lot with the assistant coach who is now the coach at Atlanta. And so we used to do a lot of discussion, and there's a lot of cross-pollination of ideas where I'm learning a lot from him from a game perspective, from tactics perspective, how game is played, and I explain to him from the numbers perspective, like why certain things are high value and why others aren't. And so it was always like a long discussion, but in the end we were able to get some things where they changed some training drills and put something on the field. We would draw some boxes on the field to kind of tell players these are the places to go. So those are all the things I'm really proud of, that we were able to get those on the pitch.
Nice. Yeah. That's very interesting to see how this relationship goes, like both on the pitch and you also have like an office job. But I'm wondering how different that was from Microsoft, like because Microsoft is software engineering, as you were saying.
Yeah.
How do you feel the environment?
Yeah, it is very different. There's nothing to compare. Like you can't. Yeah. It's the big difference when I first started was that because I was building the platform in the beginning, and in Microsoft everyone is a software engineer or have experience in software, right? So if you have a problem, you could go to someone and ask him, "Hey, I'm having a problem here. Well, have you ever faced the same problem before?" So you can solve the problem like that very easily. But in a football club, there is only one person like you, and that is you. Or maybe, at least in the beginning, that was just me. Then we added one or two more people. But in the beginning, it was just me. So there was nobody else to go to. So you have to look at online forums, but it's not quite the same. And also, like in terms of mentors and who you look up to, your boss probably knows nothing about computers or computer science. So then you have to find, there is a lot of things that you have to deal with yourself, that if you're in a field where most of the other people are also in the same career, then there is a lot of mentors and seniors and peers that you can work with, you can learn from, you can talk to. But in a football club, when you go there, you are part of a football organization, but you're not like a coach, or you're not a GM. So you're doing things that are not, that you're talking to people that have their core skills are very different than yours. So that is, communication aspect is very important. You can't assume certain things if you're working, for example, if you and I are working together, if you say something technical to me about GitHub or whatever, I think I'll understand it pretty easily. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I cannot say that to a coach, right? Like it's a different conversation. So those are the big changes I had to adapt. I think that, communication and also figuring out like how do I sustain myself when I hit a roadblock, or how do I move forward.
Got it. Awesome. But you see as being the work you and your team made during all these years as being like essential to help this organization to be so successful. There was a point that you saw like clearly I helped this on the team that really helped they winning during the years.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I would say I would give like 99% or maybe 95% of the credit to players. Players and coaches and all of that. I think in the end, it's them passing the ball, scoring the goal. So support staff or people, we feel proud that they've done great, but it's not like you can't take too much credit, right? So
got it.
It's like but it feels great to see when you watch the games and the team is doing things that you have advocated for many years. And you know what they're trying to do, so that makes me very happy. Like I left the Sounders 2 years ago. Still most of the players, they are still, and they play this very similar style, little changes, and I still know what they're trying to do, and why. And when I meet them every now and then when they come and play in Houston, we talk about the same thing. So the coach, I still talk to the coach. So definitely there's a lot of pride in seeing how the team is still doing, but also like I think in our new role, we're also very happy how Houston is doing and how Atlanta is doing, how they've done. I know they just were out of playoffs last Sunday, but they've done some good things this season, and so now I think that the thing that is exciting for me now is or for us as a company is instead of working with one club and just having that club be successful, now we're helping multiple clubs being successful. But in a different role. We're a little bit further away, but in a different role. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So after 10 years you spent on Sounders, you decided to found Source Football, and you were talking about like differences. And I was wondering, like, if you can explain better what Source Football offers and compared to how you were working on the team. You said that you were working on scouting, on health analysis of the players, and what does Source differs from, and what the Source offers for Houston Dynamo and Atlanta United, for example?
Yeah, so Source, we help teams improve or enhance their decision making. That's, if we want to describe us, I think we want to help them make better decisions. That's sort of our objective. And the way we do it is we help them speed up their process of adopting analytics. No matter where they are in the journey, if they are starting at zero, we can build an infrastructure for them, and we can even hire people for them, and we can put together a data strategy. We can help them build a department, and meanwhile, while we build the department, we can help them with the recruitment, analyze their team as we go. And so we can do, because between Sarah and Sarah's experience at Arsenal and my experience at the Sounders, and also Cole having played and his experience at other clubs at Manchester United and Burnley, we have seen pretty much we can do any part of the pipeline. So some club would need everything, and some clubs maybe they already have made progress in the first two steps, and they need somebody to speed it up to take the next step. Someone just might need help analyzing tracking data or some of the more complex data sets. So we can do that. We can help them create reports, or we can just give them like an API with data where they can just take data from us and plug it into their systems. So yeah, we can help clubs in many ways, but the ultimate goal is that they can make better decisions. They can take out risk out of their decisions as much as possible. That's the mission of Source.
Got it. Super. And how it's been to be a CEO of a company now? You are like a decision maker as well. And how does it change from the former functions you had at this Sounders? Yeah,
I guess I think CEO. I'm the CEO. Cole is the chief operating officer. Sarah is the CTO, chief technology officer. I think all three of us make decisions together. So it's not just me. I don't think there is a hierarchy in the three of us. We just need it. All three of us can't have the same title, so we just kind of pick. But I think it's very different now. We have a lot of responsibility in terms of, like, we have employees, and we have people like you working on great things, on doing internships, and really doing really cool work. So we have to make sure that all of that is taken care of. All the employees are taken care of, and that we make sure that the role of the leaders becomes like a lot more taking out all the obstacles for everybody in the organization, so that they can do their best work. Help them in any possible way so that they can do their best work. So a lot of it is now that is something that in the past I only had to do to two people that were working with me in my team, but now we have to think more holistically as a company and do it across all of them. And because now the happiness, or when you, or when one of the, like Ethan or someone they build something and it looks, and the partners like it, that makes all of us happy. And I think we want to set everybody else up for success. So that's like the biggest change in the role. The second one is more strategic in terms of planning. Okay, what will our company look like 6 months from now, a year from now? Because most of the startups, that like on average, I don't know the exact number. I think 99% of startups don't get past year one or year two or something like that. So there is some really, like, it's again, because it's hard for companies to survive and have to have a lot of things going for them. So we're always thinking about that. We're always thinking forward. So there is that part. And then the third part that is between the three of us, like, what the part that I do more is more interfacing with the clubs, interfacing with kind of like the GM of Houston or the GM of Atlanta or whatever the club may be, like their recruitment department, and just having those conversations. That's part, like, that's more, and also trying to see if there are other clubs interested in working with us. That all falls under my responsibilities.
So this is super fun because I think it makes a lot of concepts, right? So you have football analytics, but you also need to know how to develop software, and you need to know now entrepreneurship as well. So mixing a lot of stuff. You said a little bit about your role, but how about Sarah? You quoted her a couple of times now during our call, and so that everybody knows, Sarah was former VP at Arsenal, VP of Data at Arsenal, and she's the co-founder and also partner of Ravi. And how does your job differs from hers, and how did this decision come up to be?
I think it was, well, when you build a startup or start a small company, everyone has to do multiple roles or multiple jobs, but also you want among the group, the founding group, the people that are strongest in each one have to probably do more of that, because that's the way. Otherwise, it'll be hard to survive, because you can't hire a lot of people before you have some level of revenue or some level of investment. So I think that she is definitely, in her role, the big difference between her role at Arsenal and my role at the Sounders was obviously they had a bigger department, bigger budget, but also she was more removed from like the day-to-day and from kind of the club, because she worked from Seattle, would travel regularly to England, but she would work from Seattle, and so she has experience building more complex software and at a bigger scale, which is what we need as a company. So I think that was kind of like, that's how it started. But my experiences are a lot more where I've done that, but not at the same scale as her. So obviously, but then I've done a lot more of talking to or creating reports and building reports and analyzing the data and presenting analysis to clubs or to decision makers. I've done a lot of that. So that's how we've split the duties.
Got it.
I think fundamentally she's more smarter than me. That's what I wanted to say.
In the end, she knows how to handle everything on the tech side, right?
Yeah.
Nice. So to wrap up and finalize our conversation, unfortunately, because it's been so great, I want to do a question about the fame's environment that is Brazil. Brazil is a machine of talents, and basically we are exporting them to other markets right now, and mainly at a very young age. We have the cases of Endrick that signed to Real Madrid and Vitor Roque that signed to Barcelona, and they are not even 18 yet. I was wondering, how can analytics impact in this aspect of the Brazilian reality of producing a lot of stars, and in the end we are all selling them? How do you think the clubs can benefit from analytics in that remark?
I think it's a very good question. I think Brazil, unquestionably, there is so much talent in Brazil. A lot of players that can't get on the field, right? They're like, if you look at any U20 teams of one of the top, or even any team in the Serie A, it's a lot of really good players. But yeah, with Endrick, I saw he scored a hat trick a week ago and scored goals again. So yeah, he's out of control. So I guess it depends on what is the first question is. The challenge here is that producing data there are multiple challenges. Number one, for that young age is there data to track these players, and at what level can we start tracking these players? I think the clubs probably have a lot of internal data, especially GPS, starting there, as well as like I think with a lot of it's gotten very affordable to have like a camera set up in the training ground, so that, or even the grounds or the pitches where the U17s or the U15s play. It's not used to be much more expensive, but I think now the technology is there that can be implemented, or that can be installed very easily, and you can generate data off of it. So the clubs have a lot of data that, because it's also underage, it will be hard for a third-party company to collect this data, because there will be a lot of issues with privacy and legal situations. So companies will not want to do this for underage kids playing in youth competitions as much, but clubs can do, because it's internal and they're not sharing with anyone. So they, right then and there is a lot of data that probably is not being very well used to put to use to see how, where was Robinho, where was Neymar, where was at when they were 17 or when they were 16. If you can see where they are at different ages, you could maybe look at Endrick at 15, or just to give you an example, to see, he's on this trajectory or he's on this path. You need a lot of old data for it. You can't start it today and say I want to start collecting data today. I need to know how soon will I know where I can do this type of analysis. you either need to go back in matches and then be able to collect data for the older matches if you have footage, or if you start now, it will take you 3, 4, 5 years where you can set up something that where you can draw such conclusions. So I think for clubs, it's pretty clear. Like, you know that Brazil has a lot of talent, and the next Neymar or the next Endrick or next, any next star might be in your academy of 200 kids, one of them, right? So I think it's that part as clubs can control, and that's something that I think they can do a lot of work, or there is a lot of scope for making improvement there. But once they are professional, it's easier. But then once they're professional, it's also, if they haven't really kicked on till 20 or 21, maybe then it's too late sometimes. Maybe in terms of the trajectory, maybe you won't. There will be some exceptions that are late bloomers, but not many. But yeah, so I think the starting point would be clubs having all this data. Even physical data is pretty important at that age groups. So I would say that's the place to start.
Got it. Ravi, this was awesome. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have much more time left, but thanks for your presence. I think everybody got a lot of insights during this call, not only on football analytics, but on entrepreneurship, on how work works in Microsoft as well. So I think everybody will really much appreciate this call.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. And thanks for everybody, all the organizers of Fame. Hopefully next time I can be there in person, but I wish everybody all the best.
Take care, guys, at Brazil. Bye-bye.